so we compared MARTA, BART, WMATA, MBTA, and New Jersey Transit for their crime rates, and this is what we got on a crimes per million passenger basis. So you can see MARTA is kind of sitting in a similar sort of range with a lot of these agencies besides BART. It's way up higher than the rest. So how we compared these is, like I said, this is on a crimes per million unlinked passenger trips, and this is the standard way that the agencies report their crime rates. And these are Part 1 crimes as defined by the FBI, and this is a set group of crimes, both in the violent crimes and property crimes category. And these types of crimes, these Part 1 crimes, are some of the most reliably reported crimes, and that's, I think, part of why the existing ones are reported. So issues in comparing these, go ahead and advance. Issues in comparing these, what accounts for the differences in these crime rates that we're looking at here? One thing is that there could be actually different crime rates, different rates of crime on the systems, and that's definitely part of it. Another really big thing is the system boundary, is like what constitutes a crime on that transit system, whether it's a crime at the bus stop, on the actual vehicle, or at a rail station, or on a rail vehicle. And as a part of that, actually, mode distribution, heavy rail tends to have a higher reported rate of crime, and buses tend to have a pretty low rate. So BART actually is a rail-only system, where the rest of these are rail and bus. So compared with other rail systems, it's actually not that surprising that we're seeing a much higher crime rate in BART since it's rail-only. And that probably has a lot to do with the difficulty of reporting crimes that happen maybe at a bus stop or on the way to a bus stop as part of a transit trip versus something that happens at a rail station, since it's such an enclosed environment. So now I'm going to hand it off to Austin, who's going to talk more about MARTA, specifically with crime.
Okay, so how does MARTA collect crime data? It's collected by the police department, and it's convenient that they post all their data on their official website. Only Part 1 crimes are recorded, so there's no data about Part 2 crimes such as drunkenness or loitering. Transit-related crimes are shown, which means that not only do they report crimes committed at rail stations, but also crimes that take place at bus stops. They also show the crime statistics at each station, at each rail station. However, there's no crime statistics at each bus stop. So here are the crime statistics from 2007 to 2012. As you can see, crime rose in 2008 and 2009 before dropping in 2010 and 2011. However, it rose again in 2012. As you can see, rape and homicide are very rare on MARTA. Okay, so let's look at 5 crime rail stations. 5 Point Station had the most crimes had the most instance of crime between 2007 and 2010. Other high crime rail stops include Hamilton E. Holmes Station, Lindbergh Station, West End, and College Park. However, this does not necessarily mean that they have the highest rate, because 5 Points is pretty much the central hub of the system, and that means it has the most passengers. So having the most passengers could mean it has the most instances of crime. And if you're wondering about the crime rate, unfortunately, I could not find any data about the passengers served at each station. So unfortunately, I do not know which station has the highest rate of crime. Now on to key performance indicator. MARTA has a KPI directed solely at crime rate, and as you can see for the past year, the crime rate has been above the target crime rate. And now let's look at some countermeasures. One countermeasure is to simply saturate the system with security cameras, as is being done with the MBTA. Another way is to equip your police units with GPS devices, as is being done with BART. Other methods proposed include using silent alarms, equipping policemen with mace, equipping them with police dogs, or even redesign the station to reduce visual clutter and have better lighting. Now let's see some countermeasures MARTA actually implemented. They implemented a vehicle camera security system on all their buses to record anything that's going on the bus. They put officers on about 60% of the trains. And they're currently proposing putting plexiglass barriers on buses. Now I'll hand it off to Sam, who will talk about safety perceptions.
All right, thank you. Awesome. So I'm going to talk with y'all today about risk perception and transit agencies. So we use two different theories to help us get a better understanding of risk perceptions in public transportation. So the first one is the psychometric paradigm, and this is a wide array of psychological, social, and cultural factors. The second one is cultural theory, and this uses the perceiver as the focal point and not the hazards. So there are many other factors that correlate with the perception of risk, and one of the most influential ones is personality. For example, transitional anxiety is directly related to the risk perception in public transportation. So an increase in transitional anxiety shows a decrease in risk perception. So for instance, someone gets on a transit system for the first time, never been on one, they're thinking of, did I get the fare right, the timing, and what stops to get off on, and they're not really thinking about the risk involved with their trip. All right, so what makes transit agencies so great is also what makes them susceptible to a terroristic attack. Most of the nation's transit agencies are built around large city regions, landmarks, commercial, and residential development. So a case example of this is from MARTA. We were able to talk with a sergeant at MARTA's police department, and he was quoted on saying, "This issue must be kept at the forefront of preparation in transit police departments because we are a prime target. The reason we are a target for an attack is because it would cripple the surrounding communities and economies for years." He went on to say that the most vulnerable stop on MARTA's rail system is actually the medical center stop because of its proximity to the hospital. We also went into the broken window effect to help explain the perceptions of risk. And this kind of, for example, you have a house in a neighborhood. Someone throws a rock, knocks out a window. There's two ways you can approach this. You can either leave it be. More windows will probably be broken because there's no sense of control. But if you fix the window, there's a sense of control, and most likely more windows won't be broken out. So if you relate this back to the transit agency focuses on small crimes such as vandalism, fare evasion, or graffiti. They're actually repairing the broken windows in their house. And this makes the patrons feel a sense of control and less perceived risk. There's also shown that most of the public perception tends to think there are more serious crimes than non-serious crimes. And one reason for this is how the media and the entertainment industry convey public transportation. So if someone were to watch these films, has never ridden on public transportation, they get a bad first impression, and they probably do not want to ride public transportation. So, on the gender issue, throughout our research, we found that women perceive more risk in public transportation than men. And in a Canadian study, women were asked to identify areas of their lives where they felt unsafe. Respondents ranked riding public transit at night as the third most unsafe city environment. On the homeless factor, many of the homeless are the loiterers, the mentally ill, and the panhandlers in the system. They use the system as a shelter. They also use the system as a gateway to ask a lot of people